You make me feel brand new, like fresh morning dew without you.
Hello and welcome to the Eighth Note Sessions. I'm Mike Shamil.
And I'm Devin Mullen.
And today our guests are Roy G Biv, the avant-garde indie funk band from Niagara Falls and Western New York. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. How are y'all doing today?
Doing great. Glad to be here.
Yes.
So we noticed that you're in the final 16 group of Band Together Buffalo. Are you excited that things have progressed this far?
Well, absolutely. I think it shows a lot just of how much support we're getting, and it's people just aren't supporting us because they're our friends. They're supporting our band itself because they like it.
Now, I'm going to rewind the clock a little bit. What kind of led up to deciding to want to compete in this? Was this something that was a goal of yours? Did you feel the need to kind of look for a Battle of the Bands kind of setup? Or were you just hoping to break out of the neighborhood a little bit more?
I think it was, we kind of just wanted to get more involved in the scene. And once we heard about how many people were entering, I think there was over 150 contestants in the very beginning. And, we knew that there was a fair amount of musicians around in the area, but we didn't realize quite how many and how vast all the different genres and everything were. So we kind of took a chance and we're just like, you know what, let's enter it because there's, all of our friends were entering and we just wanted to do it for fun, and it ended up carrying us pretty far. I'd say we're happy to be where we are and honored to be with all the other artists in that showcase, honestly.
Absolutely.
It's a fun blend. For the folks at home that aren't as familiar with you guys, can you talk a little bit about your genre and your niche of the genre and your style?
Yeah, I mean, I think our genre and niche genre, you got that avant-garde in there. I think we would like to keep people guessing. I think we like to think of our shows. I know we like to think of our shows as kind of like an art piece. Sometimes we're it's a full performance. We're not just up there going through chords. We're playing the full thing. And I think we come from like very diverse influences. I mean, Smidge listens to a lot of metal. Evan listens to a lot of Fish. If I'm totally stereotyping them, they listen to a bunch of other stuff too. I listen to a mix of things. I mean, I grew up on like Dave Matthews Band and Jack Johnson, and then kind of got into a bunch of other stuff because of these guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's quite the blend of influences. It's an interesting mixture that you've got going on there.
That's it. Yeah, definitely.
Thanks.
Now, before I let Devin, who's itching to ask the deep questions.
Oh, yeah.
Because we know that Devin's got the deep questions. I saw you guys have a single named Transportation. What other stuff do you have in the pipeline?
Oh, we've got, we're actually going to be working on an album coming up. We've got at least 8, I think, solid originals that we want to showcase to the world, and even more we're in the process of writing right now. But hopefully that's going to come soon. But I think there's like 4 songs that we started with, like as a band right from the beginning, and those 4 will be on it. But I think those showcase the difference in our interests and how they kind of came together.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to Transportation, you can hear, I don't know. I mean, there's like this kind of like reggae beat. There's the piano that brings a totally different vibe, and there's also like a second part of that song that we didn't record on the single that we're looking forward to probably releasing in the album.
A little bit of extra content.
Yeah, singing. Yeah.
So we'll have our single version of Transportation up, but when the EP or album or what have you drops, it'll have a slightly different ending. So
stay posted for alternative ending in future releases, etc.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why we invited you on the show tonight is because a lot of our segments, they're focused in Buffalo, in the music scene there. And we talk to people in, neighboring towns and everything. What I wanted to get a little bit of a sense of is, what is this in quotes, because you guys aren't fully a jam band, but what's the community in Niagara Falls like?
Well, we like to think of it as post jam, really, Devin.
Oh, post jam. That's clever. I like that. Where'd you hear that?
It's cool.
Post jam, does that mean like you stand next to a post and you jam? Like, is that part of like the stage show? You know, you have to. I'm kidding. Forget I said that.
Oh boy.
It's cool. There's a super unique. I mean, I think Western New York's unique in a lot of ways, but it's definitely a unique place for music. I mean, we have Canada right there, so we have some cool influences, coming there historically. You got the band, you got the hip, you got the Arkells, more contemporary.
Yeah. A lot of the snarky puppy fellas are out of Toronto.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'd say our experience in the scene around here has been great. It's been nothing but healthy interactions. Everyone's willing to kind of lift each other up, and it's not so much a competition, really. It's more of just like everyone supports one another. And I've said this before, but like I stand by it. I'm just excited to go see a show as I am to play one, and it's really just a great experience so far. A lot of
that's awesome. That's the way it should be. I mean, as musicians, we can't afford to have too big of an ego. The reality is we all rely on each other. People just don't come out for one artist and one artist only. If you really want to have more opportunities, we really all have to kind of bounce off each other and kind of pull each other up.
Right, exactly.
In our pre-interview conversation, we touched on minor things you would like to see changed, which don't relate so much to people, but rather places. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, like, financial aspect is like for musicians, that's challenging. We're seeing that with Spotify and all that stuff.
Yeah. And we touched on a little bit just finding a place to play right now. Not only, actual shows that people can come and see, but finding a place to practice, because not everybody has an ideal situation at home, neighbors and stuff like that. But finding a place to rent and, even with a ton of people on board, it can be pricey.
I mean, it's definitely one of those things where certain people are disadvantaged based on access to creative spaces, and there's larger critiques to be drawn from that, but we won't go down that road. So we've talked about how our segments have generally favored, one part of Western New York, just as it happens. That's not really a conscious decision. And that's been largely true with, what kinds of musical artists we've interviewed. I mean, we had Damone Jackson. He's sort of from the jammy musical genealogy. But other than that, it's another one of those vibrant, large parts of our musical culture that I don't know how often it's deeply examined in conversation, because it's very much everyone comes out, you have this sort of like freeing communal experience, and you share that and then you go home. But all music comes from a place. There's always a seed of that creativity. So in your case, in your post jam avant-garde funk landscape, what is your music written in response to? What's on your mind when you're creating?
I think we probably all have different answers for that, and the cool thing that comes out is when we all put those things together. I mean, art comes from necessity in a lot of cases. I mean, a lot of the songs that I've written, I think I'm trying to focus in on this. I think the necessity is kind of pain or maybe loneliness at certain points in my life, and kind of bringing it back to like there's this common thread that we all share as humans, and there's, I guess, hope in that, and there's like a safe harbor in that, but now, like, I'm definitely evolving writing with these guys, and I think they have totally different, you know, ways that they write, and we're kind of.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I draw a lot of what Rob's saying. Where when I'm writing, I am sometimes coming from a place of like pain and loneliness, but when I write lyrics, I try to be more on the. I mean, I've written some goofy lyrics, but I try to be more on the, you know, a lot of inspirational stuff, and like rather a place of being in the pain, a place of coming out of it, and the music to just be, you know, more vibey, more dancey, to kind of just give the listener more of like just a release from whatever. They can enjoy the song, they can connect with the lyrics, you know, and they can kind of forget about other pain or other everyday things that they're experiencing.
Yeah, and I'd say, you know, I've only written a little bit, mainly lyrics for the band. And my experience in necessity of art is coming from somewhere in between both of these fellows' answers, somewhere kind of like in a more transitional period of, you know, figuring yourself out and realizing the world isn't that bad, you know, despite it being ever changing. Because the single we have out, "The Transportation," is it's a very upbeat, very happy sounding song. There's a lot of cool moving parts, but the lyrics are rather dark, and it's interesting. It's kind of redundant.
Kind of a juxtaposition there, you know. You got kind of the Haley Williams sort of thing. Let's take something really happy and something really sad and stick them together and see if you can pick out what mood the song actually is supposed to be.
Exactly. Yeah. Like Lil Nas.
So to put it very contritely, it's to give yourself and the listener a ladder up.
Yeah, I think so.
That's wonderful. Going forward, I mean, you've been affected by coronavirus. A lot of, as you said, a lot of your music is the live show. I mean, it's kind of in the name. I mean, this, you know, there's so much intersection between color and music and vibrancy and all that. So, other than the band Together Buffalo and the studio work, and I guess maybe practices, how have you guys been keeping that creative life active and well nourished in this time?
We've been making a lot of food reviews.
Yeah, food reviews?
Yeah, like you could see a couple on our Instagram.
That's awesome.
Egg rolls from a couple different.
Yeah. Cookies, Christmas cookies. We actually ended up ordering some merch, and the stickers came with a free bottle of hot sauce that we reviewed.
Sticker meal,
Yeah.
Now, did the hot sauce stand up? Because in Western New York, we love our hot sauce. If it doesn't like give you a good tingle on the tongue, it's practically butter.
Michael, I think Evan's got to take this question.
I'm a big hot sauce guy. I grow and make my own hot sauce with my dad. We both have our own gardens at our places. I thought it was pretty good. It was pretty sweet, but it also gave you that, you know, that extra little spice where, you know, some people might sit there and be like, oh, you know, that's nothing, but like to the average person, like they'll feel it. It's pretty good.
Now, is the band working on their own hot sauce? I have seen some really creative merch out there. And honestly, I think people would totally dig that in the city. Especially if you got a bar to like have like a special wing of like the Roy G Biv variety.
Dude, let's go.
I've definitely had these thoughts before. I think it's just a matter of putting that into action. And I think that in the foreseeable future, that you'll see a Roy G Biv label on a bottle of some tasty sauce.
Yeah.
Sort of, we didn't really cover this in the pre-interview conversation, but now that you mention it, I'm kind of thinking about it. You know, part of being an artist nowadays is you do have to sort of dip, you know, ladles into other pots. Just on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever this is, you know, day in the life kind of stuff. Engage with our content. Help us be producers and drivers of content. Do you find that to be a natural fit to the vibe of your music, or is it just more like a different kind of job you have to add on top of already being musical artists?
I mean, I would say it comes pretty naturally. At times it does. But I mean, just because we're very social creatures and we're very, I touched on maybe how we like to involve our audience a lot more, that sort of thing. I think it's easier for us to hop on a social media in that regard and just kind of like shoot out a message and, wish everybody well, because I know the last year's been crazy for everybody. And just kind of keep everyone updated on, what's going on our end, even just on like a day-to-day basis. Not so much only dealing with the music, but little snippets of, what we're up to.
I saw on your Instagram, I think it was last week, you were donating to quite a good cause. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we're instead of kind of the first round, so part of this Band Together Buffalo competition is we have to get payments on Venmo, which count as votes, and we were absolutely blown away by the amount. Like we were going to put it towards our album, and we were blown away by the amount of money that we raised, and we were like, well, that's great, but we should definitely find a good cause for the second round, because I bet you we can raise even more. And so we chose the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And I mean, if you know anything about that group, they don't have any government funding for their foundation, so it's all done by people in the community. So, and that's something, I mean, that hits close with me. We work with cystic fibrosis patients at work, helping them get set up on their equipment and make sure they get good care. So these guys, I mean, we all kind of rallied around it, and there's a Western New York chapter that we're trying to support. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so we got a GoFundMe set up, and we're taking payments through a Venmo, and we're gonna put it all towards the foundation. So
we'll be sure to include those links in the write-up.
Yeah,
definitely.
Awesome, thank you.
So folks, we are about at time. I'm gonna give the last question over to my co-host here, and then that'll be it with Roy G Biv.
Yes. So my final question of the night: which one of you is the one who has to make sure everyone else is on time to the gig?
Don't look at me.
I mean, I was late today, so I can't.
Personally, I think Smidge is really good at that, because he's the drummer. He's got to go in, get it, load in his drums.
Keeps time.
I play in time, so I need to keep time.
I walk in with my bass, and usually there's already an amp set up, or I plug in, and then I try to help Smidge out with everything. But he'll get there and say, I'm here. Sound guy's here, what you guys ETA, he makes sure that we're getting there on time.
The reason why I ask is I've noticed, especially in smaller bands, like I've played in a power trio, and there's always that one person who's like secretly like the metronome behind the whole group. They don't always seem like it on the outside. You might be like, wow, those guys are so dynamic, but there's that one person that has that skill that helps like kind of like build the clockwork behind the whole mechanism of the band. And I just kind of wanted to see like who that was inside the group there.
Yeah, well, it turns out the drummer is keeping time on the music end and on the,
on
the life end too.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we appreciate the three of you giving us some time tonight. It's been fantastic interviewing you, and we wish you the best of luck in your current round of Band Together Buffalo and with your future projects. And with that, absolutely. And with that, this is the Eighth Note Sessions. I'm Mike Shamil.
I'm Devin Mullen.
And our guest was Roy G Biv. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Here's an excerpt from the song Wonderment by Roy G Biv. You can find all their music on major streaming platforms.
Somewhere in between now and then we'll catch a case of butterflies. Seen the past and what's ahead, it helps me to push through all these lies.
The Eighth Note sessions are produced by Music is Art. Help keep programs like this going by donating today at musicasart.org. Thank you for listening.